What is gender stereotyping?
I believe that gender stereotyping is when you assume that a gender can or cannot do a certain aspects of whether it be a job, physically, emotionally. Yeah.
Do you think there's a difference between sex and gender?
I guess that's a hard question to answer per se. I think that it's how about you personally define it. Who am I to say what gender or sex that you orient yourself with, and just within the LGBT community that we have here on campus, you have people that identify themselves amongst several different things. I can't really say if that's one thing or another thing. So,
what is gender stereotyping?
It's like when people say they stereotype men and women, like saying the woman is supposed to like be in the kitchen and the man is supposed to be out like making the money, head of the household, whatever.
Do you think there's a difference between sex and gender?
What is gender stereotype?
Okay, so gender stereotyping is when personal characteristics or traits are used to identify what distinguishes a male and a female.
Okay, can you think of any stereotypes for male or female?
For males, they're stereotyped to be dominant, more aggressive, to be tough, to like trucks instead of, for girls it would be, they're supposed to be more passive aggressive, have more manners, polite.
Gender stereotyping.
Gender stereotyping, I guess that kind of deals with like people just kind of saying, oh, she can only do this because she's a woman, or he can only do this because he's a man, or he can't do it or cannot, or she can't do it, something like that.
Okay, can you think of any stereotypes for male or female?
I guess more or less a popular stereotype would be like men are supposed to be seen as macho, and like they're supposed to be the one who provide for, I guess if he were to have a family, provide for the family, and the woman is the one who is more or less like, she takes care of the family. She doesn't necessarily have like a say in the, I guess, in a relationship or whatnot, but sometimes it's not like that.
Okay, thank you.
What is gender stereotyping?
It's like what people think about like a specific gender, like how they perceive them, and then like decisions that they make like based on what their gender is.
Do you think the stereotypes attributed to men are of higher status than women?
No, I think it's becoming less that way now.
Thank you. What is gender stereotyping?
Gender stereotyping is when you attribute certain characteristics to men and women.
Do you think the stereotypes attributed to men are of higher status than women?
Yes, they're usually more associated with businesses and offices, as the women are associated with staying at home with their children and not working. So I would consider men to be of higher standard if you listen to the stereotypes.
Gender stereotyping.
It's really hard to place it, but gender stereotyping is, if I had to give something for it, I would say it's the idea that some gender roles are associated with either male or female people, the male-female traits, and so it's really hard. But I would say stuff like men don't cry, or women or the really weird one that no one does anymore, hopefully, that women would be in the kitchen doing stuff like that. Right. I would say that's some sort of a gender stereotype, or that it would be based on, or that your ability to do work would be based on how you appear because of your gender.
Okay, why do you think society appreciates male traits more than female?
I don't believe that's a fair question to ask. I don't think that it's necessarily that society values male features more than female features. I just think that it really depends on where you look. I don't think that's a fair question to ask.
Is gender stereotyping?
Gender stereotyping is when people have this opinion of someone because of their gender, about what they're like or what they're capable of or things like that.
Okay, why do you think society tends to value male traits more than females?
I actually don't think that they do. I think that they're valued but in different ways. So I think like things that are stereotypically male traits are valued more for example, monetarily. But then like things that are female traits, for example, like if a female has male traits, that's not valued in them, and if a male has female traits, that's not valued in them. But if they're where they're supposed to be, then it's valued. So it's kind of dumb, but yeah.
What is gender stereotyping?
So it's when you group traits or things that are kind of general to a certain gender.
What is gender stereotyping?
Gender stereotyping, I think, is more what, like, for example, like man can only do certain things, and same thing as a female can only do certain things. So like in the olden days where the man was the breadwinner versus the woman was more stay home, take care of the kids type thing. That's what I think.
What is there to lose if a woman embodies too many male traits, say like in school, the workforce, or sports?
I don't think there's nothing to lose. It's just more empowering.
What is gender stereotyping?
Gender stereotyping is, I guess, like, if you're a female, you should do a certain thing, like kind of like your behaviors or like stuff like that. Or like if you're a male, you should do certain things. Next question.
Okay, do you think there are some subjects in schools that are more appropriate for males and more appropriate for females?
I don't think so, but I think people do. Like nursing, people expect more women to be nurses, and like teachers and stuff like that.
What is gender stereotyping?
Gender stereotyping is basically saying this is for a girl and this is for a boy when everything's for everybody.
Okay. In schools, do you think there are more subjects that are appropriate for males or appropriate for females?
I would say no, but people tend to make it that way. So like saying like psychology is more for girls and nursing for girls, education is for girls instead of boys and girls.
When we talked about sex versus gender in class, we were given a distinct difference between the two, but whenever I asked the question to the students and then the one faculty member, I was expecting them to like give a definition for both of them, but they ended up not even knowing what to say, or the guy even said that it was a very difficult question to answer because it was just kind of a hard topic. And that was very intriguing to me. And I also thought this project was very enlightening and fun to do and just see what people thought and their different responses to all the questions.
For me, I think the biggest takeaway for me was like the idea that everyone we asked could give a distinct definition of like what they thought gender stereotype was. We all had like that common answer of like attributes or like traits given to like male and female like by society. And I also think it was like very like optimistic or like great to hear that there was so many people who no longer saw like those stereotypes as being right, and like men could be nurses and teachers and women could work in businesses and have like roles that like men have. And I think it says a lot about like our society moving away from stereotypes and moving into something way more like equal.
Ooh.